Good morning. Good morning. It's season 6, episode 47, number 265 of the Decoded podcast. And it's our last summer school episode because come Tuesday morning, it will be the first day of school.
Yep.
And regular school, not summer school. How's it going, Chris?
It's going good. Going good. Good
I,
on ramp. I liked the fuel and the feel of the on ramp.
bro, I did a lot of talking today on that on-ramp.
We were both in there. We both had our bits.
You're being kind.
But I loaded you up with Marco, right? So that was my so it's we go. Word for word.
You
We're
kept
good.
me, you were I was literally like, as I'm doing stuff around the house, feeding the bunny and working in the kitchen, you were chatting me up, and it was great.
I'm gonna admit this. I'm gonna admit this in to all of our thousands of followers.
Okay.
You having a bunny. I won't do it yet. I'm going to talk about rabbit holes later. That's what I want to talk about. So but the bunny, bunny, freaking bunnies. Go ahead. You start up.
Oh, pretzel. I love them. I love them. It always, every time I feel good about the bunny, I think of the meme. Did I ever send you the meme that I've talked to you about? It's
doesn't ring a bell.
Okay. There's a meme, and it's I'm assuming two males who are arm wrestling, and and then at the top it says something like the dad that said he wanted nothing to do with the new pet, and then it's the two hands are together for the arm wrestling. The one hand says, I can't remember. It's like dad and bunny and their bond. They're like best friends now. So it's like the dad that didn't want the rabbit is now the one who fawns over the rabbit and like
The
is
rabbit dad. We'll just call it the
absolutely in
rabbit
love.
dad.
Yeah. So I do appreciate his presence, and I got to tell you, he does have a calming effect on me. The family jokes that he could be my support animal. I don't
Mm-hmm.
joke. Like if I could take him everywhere with me, and I've gotten to know his character a little bit.
I
I
want
know.
these videos. You bunny within a backpack, bunny on a leash, bunny on your shoulder, sort of chewing, scratching at the side of your beard. I want bunny with goggles on as the bunny's like leaning its head out the window of your car, and it's like got its paws up on there. These moments of the two of you sort of like bouncing the overhead. You get out your drone, and you two sort of like the overhead shot of you two sort of walking somewhere in Waterloo, just like you and the bunny. I love it. Matching outfits. All these moments captured, right? I love it.
Now I got to tell you though, he's not an Instagram bunny. Like he doesn't like to be held. He doesn't. He will jump up on us, like if we're lying down on the ground with him, he'll jump up on us and kind of explore us because bunnies like to be on higher ground. So it's not like he's being affectionate. It's all everything we
Because they're a
think.
prey animal. I
Yeah.
imagine prey animal. They like to. It's a funny phenomenon though, because Ollie, my cat, does as well, but that's because it's the predator fact. So they're both vying for the higher ground, right? Like in the research I've done on cats is that they do that so that they lord over you, right? Like they can survey all they need to.
So it's the same with the bunny. He wants to get on high ground so he can have the advantage, right? So all the things we think he's doing because he likes us is not really it's not really that he likes us, but the calming effect he has on me is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, the, I know we kind of went off on a tangent, but it's funny because I'm feeding him, I'm petting him, and you're literally right beside me talking to me. And then I'm responding to you by text because, as I told you, I didn't feel comfortable talking because I thought I might be too loud for the house.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's still asleep. Okay. So yeah, okay, so you did talk to me this morning, and then I did a lot of talking on the on-ramp. I'm gonna shift gears though. So I saw something yesterday. I saw yesterday, the day before, it caught my attention 100%. Gary Vaynerchuk would be so proud because Gary talks about, the biggest thing we can give him is our time. And
Yeah.
so I laid my time into
I
Jocko
like how he
Willing.
calls that out. I like how he calls that out because he knows that's his currency. That's
He's
really
like,
what it
number
is.
one, I want
Yeah.
your attention. If you give me your attention, I'm grateful for life. Right.
Mhm.
Um, And yeah, a lot of people are annoyed with him. I'm not. He can be annoying, his presence, like Gary, the way he operates, but the guy's a hustler. Like
Mhm.
he's built his kingdom because of the hard work he put in. But anyway, okay, Jocko Willink, former Navy SEAL commander. He's written a bunch of books. He's got businesses. He has this popular podcast. He's a motivator, right? He's a stoic. He's strong. He's all these he's all these things that are attractive to me. Okay, so the other day I'm on my Facebook and there's a Jocko commercial, so I click on it. It's Jocko Willink, who's now part of the Masterclass brand. You know that brand Masterclass where
Yeah.
you can sign up to listen to a celebrity. Usually they're celebrities, to listen to a celebrity who's an
To
expert,
cook or to draw or learn how to direct,
act.
to
Yeah,
act movies. Yeah, there's a lot, yeah.
there's a lot of different stuff. Now, what okay, so this has always been an interesting thing to me, but what broke it for me, what made me walk away from Masterclass, is when they had Chris Hadfield. They probably still have him as a Masterclass instructor. Chris Hadfield was is part of their brand to talk about what it's like to be an astronaut. I was like, I'm done with you guys. This isn't because so Jocko is doing a masterclass on leadership. So if I wanted to pay the 39.99 or whatever it is and
Mhm.
watch Jocko's masterclass, I can actually leave his masterclass with what I believe are some knowledge to go and be a better leader. Because I kind of know Jocko's his online presence and his brand, and I dig it. So take my money. I'll do a masterclass with Jocko.
Mhm.
But Chris Hadfield talking about being an astronaut, or Tom Hanks talking about acting, I could do something with that. But being an astronaut, I was like, get out of here. That's not cool. I mean, do I want to hear Chris Hadfield talk about being an astronaut? Yes. Do I want to pay 39.99 or whatever it is to do a masterclass with him? No. You That's BS. One out of zillions of people become astronauts, and then even then they may not even go to space. So I'm like, nah, I'm done with you guys. This is BS. This is not cool that you're going to take people's money. I think it's a subscription service, but long story short, you're going to take people's money to listen to Chris Hadfield talk about being an astronaut. And yeah, you can take stuff from it. You can take like his perspective and his attitude that he's learned from being an astronaut, sure, but you're not going to become an astronaut. But with Jocko, so it's hilarious because if you know Jocko and you know his podcast brand, he's hard hitting, right? He comes at it differently. But in this masterclass commercial, he's wearing a blue golf shirt. I don't think I've ever seen Jocko wear a blue golf
I don't
shirt.
know the dude much. I don't know the dude much, but in generally in the content, if it ain't sweat soaked, then, yeah.
So Jocko's wearing like a blue casual golf shirt, which I've never seen because he's either on his podcast, he's wearing his t-shirts, he's
Mhm.
got a line, or he's wearing
I have to Google that shit.
okay,
I gotta yeah, I'm gonna see if I can
okay.
find. I'm gonna do Jocko Willock golf shirt.
Or just do a masterclass and you'll see the commercial and you'll see the golf shirt. Or he's wearing a golf shirt with his business name on it and it's gray or black. Like it's never blue, right? Anyway,
Okay, so here's the deal, right? Did he do a TED Talk?
He did do a TED Talk along many years ago, yes.
So I see a younger version of him. Looks like he's wearing either a black or a dark blue um golf shirt. Here's the thing. Dude puts on a golf shirt. It's like the best looking version of wearing a golf shirt ever. Like I generally don't think golf shirts are all that flattering. They're functional. You get on the golf course. This dude, it's there's like there's n- he's just he's just what's the word? Impressive in that golf shirt. It fits him very well. He's like it's like you forget it's a golf shirt. So there we go.
So, blue golf shirt, which you'd never see Jocko wear, and he's toned down. He's toned down. He's not hard hitting as he normally would be. And this is the best part. It made me laugh out loud because it seemed like a meme. He was talking, and there was like a group of people in his little audience that he's doing his presentation to. It's a diverse group, which I'm not it just made me laugh because the formula, I can see the formula. There's like three women, they're black. There's a couple of guys, a white woman,
Mhm.
and there's like seven people in front of him type of thing. And he's talking about, extreme ownership and leadership and how to treat people and how to build relationship in this little commercial. So I walked away from the commercial laughing because I'm like, holy cow, they took a monster, and I say that with respect, and they basically toned him down. But at the same time, I was like, this is impressive because I've been following him for years, watching his stuff, listening to his stuff. He's hardcore, and the things he's presented with respect to leadership make sense. And he's friggin' Navy SEAL commander, but he talks about, hey, you want to build a relationship with Jimmy? Jimmy comes into work late. You don't go and hammer him. You call him in, you say, Jimmy, I noticed you're late. What's going on in life? Like, is everything okay? He's like, you got to care for people. And you got to care for people, says the guy that would go around smoking people with a rifle, and Navy SEAL jumping out of planes, going in submarines, and then you hear this side of leadership. He says in the commercial, if I were, when I was a commander or whatever, if I go barking orders at people, there goes any leadership clout I have in the bank. They're going to be like, this guy's a jerk. Well, we're not going to do what he wants. He's like, you can't operate that way. That's not good leadership. Anyway, having said all that, masterclass, they've got my attention again because I would love to. I would pay money to take this toned down version, which applies more to me in the work I do as an educator
Me too.
than the
I
than the
get it.
Navy SEAL stuff. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. I like the Navy SEAL stuff. It speaks to a part of me, but it's not me. My leadership comes with real humans that don't follow my orders and people that don't give a rat's beep about what I do or what I want to do. I do want to lead there. I do want to build there. That's my space. They lost me with Chris Hadfield because I was like, this is no, you're not getting my money. I'm never going to be an astronaut. So, nope, I'm not going to do that. Um, they had Bill Clinton. I'm not going to be a president either. Like I see what they're doing, right? They're like giving people an inside look. Don't call it masterclass because a
It's
masterclass to me means I'm going to learn how to be something or do something. Listening to Bill Clinton, I can watch that for free on YouTube. Same with Chris Hadfield. Same with Jocko. But I want to see Jocko talk to these normal folk. And that's not even fair to say because I know Jocko's company, his consulting company, he works with other organizations and companies. They're not military. They're all kinds of people who say, we like what you're selling. Come talk to our people. What do we do to build our leadership? There's my position, Chris. So,
no, it's I cut but you've lit me up. So first off, until the American Labor Day, masterclass is 50% off. So for anyone listening right now. So I was trying to see what the price is. So
Is it
your
like a
subs
subscription service?
yeah, well, it says starts at okay, so let's do this. I'm gonna
It
sign
might
up.
be
Let's see
worth
what
it though.
happens.
50% off for a year subscription
So
might be worth it.
so let's say I was gonna gift it to you. Let's say I'm gonna give the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
gift of masterclass. So now I see. So I would monthly price. Okay, so let's say I got you the let's yeah, let's say you and I share the family. You know, we've gone there, right? One account, 6 devices. Best value. So that would be right now for the first year. Normally that would be $27 a month. Right now, 50% off, it's 14 bucks a month. So let's select the family. Let's see if there's any other kind of things that happen here. Okay, so
And
now
that's
I
gonna be in
oh,
American dollars, right?
that's gonna be American dollars. So we know that we're in for 30 bucks a month American, like full price, right? Or 14
Oh,
bucks
full
American.
yeah,
Full
let's do
price. I'm
let
giving you both. I'm giving you both. So
I
if
want the
I
sale price. Just give me
so
the
the
sale.
sale price, yeah, sale price is 14 bucks.
Okay.
Right now, 14 bucks. And 14 bucks American, it's normally 27 bucks American a month. And my assumption is that would that be all you can consume?
I wanna say yes, but I I could be wrong.
Okay, so yeah, you get all 180 plus classes. So what that's 183 classes across 11 categories. So you have like just under 200 classes. Um, You can watch on computer, TV, tablet. There's guides and content, extra stuff that you get. You can download for offline viewing at the $20. So there's 13 bucks, not on sale. The $20 level is 33% off at 14 bucks. And if you go to the family level, which allows you to do 6 different devices, it's 50% off for 14 bucks for the first year. So, you get all the content for that. It's funny, you look at that, you're like, "It's not a bad deal."
Well, if you and I split that 14 bucks is even
Let's
better
let's
deal.
let's talk about it. Let's talk about it and see. Because the next thing I would wanna know is it bound by IP? As in, put it this way, it would have to go in under one of our emails. How do you and I let's do the research to find out whether or not it works outside the household kind of a thing.
Which I would
Because
hope it would, because what if we have a family,
Mhm.
but your kid's at university or like that's not cool if it's within a house,
Yeah,
right?
so
But
the better really well, here's the thing. It's 14 bucks if you go for the duo or 14 bucks if you go for the family. So this has kind of an interesting hmm, this has an interesting possibility for an iteration of book club for men,
oh yeah, it does.
doesn't it?
It does.
Even to have it for the year. So this is like there's 6 devices, so that means there's you, me, and 4 individuals that wanna kinda really dig into something.
I like that though.
Interesting.
I like
So I
that
just
because so I for sure. Let's continue to
I
talk.
got a cool little kinda tingle off that,
Okay.
like it's a new well, it's a new version or a different kind of way to look at it, right?
I'm telling you, masterclass, you got me. You got me with the toned down Jocko talking to normal people that I can
Toned down.
see, right? I can
Light,
see him
Jocko
talking
Light.
Jocko light, but I got to tell you I'm sold on I have one of his books, the Field Guide, Leadership Field Guide or something.
Did you enjoy it?
I did. I didn't use it all because half of it is about like working out and stuff,
Mhm,
different ways to exercise. I'm not. I wasn't there. I'm not there with that, but I do subscribe to his general approach to leadership,
mhm.
and the dichotomy of leadership. And I really like that I've heard enough from him that it sounds like he's a normal human. Like saying, for example, doesn't matter what rank you are in the military, if you go barking orders at people, like he takes delight in
Radical
the
oh,
well,
sorry, yeah, go.
extreme ownership is his thing, but he takes delight in saying, I don't think I've ever had to directly order somebody to do anything in my career. Because he says, you go to them and you tell them, hey, I think we should get this done, or what do you think about this, or we need this to happen, and they go do it. So he's like, I've never said to Jimmy, I'm ordering you to go and do that. right? And he talks about non-centralized leadership. So like when you've got a crew of people and you send them off to do their job, they're not checking in with you every 5 minutes. Decentralized, because he's like, they have to make decisions based on their situation, their context. And he's even talked about, I've been given orders. I look at the orders, I'm like, oh, this doesn't make sense in the context. So then and he tells you, I go up the chain of command. I talk to my superiors. I say, hey, listen, I just read your order, whatever. I got to tell you, this is gonna. If we do it this way, it's gonna hurt the guys in the field. If we did it this way, it makes a little bit more sense for the context. He doesn't just bark at people. He talks about how barking at people is not going to get you anywhere with anything. You need to build relationship, and you need to empower people. You need people to step up. How do you do that? Right? So he's got me sold with his style. It's not I'm this and you're going to do this, right? And he even talks about having the tough conversations with people. But he says how you deliver that tough conversation is going to make or break the conversation. If you bring someone in again and you say to them, you're late every day for work, if you do that again, I'm going to write you up. He's like, does anybody feel good after that conversation? No. But if you bring them in, you start having like, what's going on? Like, how can I help you? Because this it doesn't work for work. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for you. How do we make it work? What needs to happen? What's going on? And then if you have some relationship clout in the bank, they may speak to you. They may say, this is what's happening. This is what's happening at home. My kid's struggling, or I'm having marital issue, whatever, right? And then you go from there. You build from there. But I love that because, as you know, one of my pet peeves in my observations is that everybody around me likes to talk about these tough conversations, but then they don't have them with the people that they need to have them with. So it's like, so are we just talking about these? Like, do I need to become really good at talking about tough conversations, never really have them? And then sometimes, like, I was telling you something in the on ramp and I'm like, what are they, if this happens, what are they going to do to me? Is somebody going to call me in for a tough conversation because they don't do it for the guys that are literally not working, so they're going to do it to me? Probably, because I'm not
Mhm.
a threat to them. I'm not going to tell them to go F off or whatever. I don't
Well,
like any of that.
maybe too. Part of it is, I think sometimes, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why you could be singled out to have those tough conversations. One of them, though, is sometimes when you're doing the work, obviously. So when you do the work, obviously, and you do the work, you know, in a networked fashion, and I think like the language we use with the kids, there's creating risk. So there's risky behavior, there's at risk, and then there's in risk. So mine sometimes professional behavior puts me in risk. It just does because, and it's not in risk because there's actually a specific rule book that says I'm about to break a law. I'm in risk in a abstract way because it's not in alignment with the common thinking. So, you know, there are other individuals that sort of seek to maintain their power and leadership, but never do it in a way that demonstrates that there's like a positive risky behavior element to it. Like you're right, they just don't they don't align themselves with any opportunity. They're almost like this filled up, too busy even for a conversation where they may be questioned about what they're doing. There's sometimes the individual walking down the hallway with a clipboard and a piece of blank paper on it, and they're staring at it, and someone makes the mistake of thinking, oh, they're really busy. I can't talk to them right now. Right. They kind of model this kind of behavior. So I think it's loaded. I think there's a lot of, as you would say, there's a lot of layers to that. Um, but I always like to step through. I don't like to leave that hanging. I don't know what it's called. I'm sure there's a grammatic term for it, but that type of hyperbolic statement of like, what are they gonna do to me? Like, right? What are they gonna do to me? I always like to answer that question. Well, let's walk through that. So if they found that you are actually working in opposition to any number of laws or rules or OCT Let's talk. Let's put that right there on the table while we're talking about it. It's almost like that difficult conversation about difficult conversations, just so that we don't leave in any way, shape, or form wondering what the outcome of this decision making process could be. And it's an exercise in words. Sometimes that doesn't happen, but I always like to sort of walk away from, one of the things I like, and I'll track back to, I'm a slow adopter of some of the individuals that you had considered deep thinkers before I started pursuing this. Gary Vee, hands down, I just can't stand listening to him. I don't like the sound of his voice. I don't, it's just it I will just put it down to that. If I get in small pieces, then I find higher value. And it has to be small pieces in time to something that I'm going through. I don't store Gary Vee wisdom. So it's like I have to come across I'm like, right, I need to sort of move in that direction more. Like it's like the universe just puts it in front of me, or the algorithm does. Who knows? Jocko, I can listen to. Jocko, I can listen to. Jocko, there's something about it. Mel Robbins, I can listen to. I'm dropped. Dare to lead. Dare to lead, dare to lead. The
Brene
soci-
Brown.
Brene Brown, I can listen to. Goggins, I go 50-50. I go 50-50. Rogan, can't do it. Halliday, sometimes. Sometimes. I like Halliday's writing better than listening to him talk. So these are some of the people. Wim Hof, I can't stand listening to him. But I love watching his videos and the people that are collectively participating. I love how people talk about Wim Hof. So these are all individuals that I was introduced to through you. Maybe not Halliday. I don't know. I don't know if we kind of simultaneously kind of had Halliday. We're like,
I don't know about that
who
one.
knows? But it's in the mix, right?
Yeah.
This is the buffet that we consume from. So where I'm going with this is like um the time and place where I can sort of like develop and grow some of these tools. It's been kind of fascinating because so much of I've said to you before, I've got 10 years left in education. I've said this number because then I say to myself, okay, I'm going to be 10 years left before that. I think I got to make a critical decision. I think about my life. I think about retirement. I think about, the money. I think about how I'm being fed. I guess there's the possibility that if I really feel like I'm still like cracking off in education, then I'll stay. What the hell? If I could stay to 65, hell, imagine being 70. But I do also know that my mortality number is 100. So I keep that in mind as an anchoring kind of guiding star, that everything that I take in, and this has started to grow, this kind of finality in my brain, everything that I've been taking in, at least since I'll sort of put a mark, since you and I in a really, let's put it, since the beginning of this podcast, which I felt was like a turning point in really taking theory and trying to make it immediately, instantly into some sort of an action. Grab the evidence, create the evidence, observe the evidence, like right away, kind of jump into it. Side note, exactly sometimes the problem with PD, it's too long, too lofty. James Clear would say that's bullshit. Like he'd say, like, don't put those little nuggets of success so far off. You got to have something a little bit closer to build a better habit. Props to James Clear, another individual that sort of has popped into our conversation.
He's in Masterclass too, I saw in the commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So probably a lot of the peeps that we've connected with, right? Over the time that have somehow popped into our conversation. So the shortness, one of the things that I do like about Willick, and the thing that attracts me to Stoicism, is that it immediately confronts me with a decision as to fundamentally, am I going to act or am I not going to act? That's it. And Goggins has done the same thing. Like these individuals, like, don't take a lot of time to parse this out. Recognize the fork you're at, act or don't act, and recognize that is your ultimate power. You can't choose when the fork appears. You can't choose what the fork looks like. You can't say, I would rather have a third fork. It is only the opportunity that's in front of you. Decide. That is your superpower. And then, it's a fascinating uh kind of like retraction of our power into ourselves, that you have the capacity to make good decisions. Here's some criteria: stoicism and how you make better decisions. Here's how you, once you make a decision, take that and translate that into locomotion, Goggins. And then you have long term Willett coming in and saying, if you maintain this regimen on a regular basis, you're going to have a life well lived. Or I think, is it the Buddhists? They say you die empty. Somebody says you die empty, which is not a negative thing. It just means you left everything you needed to in your life. It wasn't sort of, do, do, do. And then you're like, oh, regrets, right? We'll still have regrets possibly, but you've done everything you can to have the good life. That's why I like Willick. That's why I like Goggins. That's why I like Halliday. That's why I like Mel Robbins too. Mel Robbins is a very act now. Go, do it. Act now. Stop acting now as well. She does a good job of talking about how to stop acting. That's just not useful. Brene Brown, here's why you're acting. Here's why it's difficult. Brene Brown is a little bit like the hug on the theory. That sort of, it's stoicism, right? Sympatheia. We're all connected. You can act as an individual, but recognize you're in a community. Last thing I'll say for now on this is that, and this is the cheeky part of this. I feel like Masterclass is TED Talk 2.0, except what they've convinced you to do. I saw the look on your face. Sorry. What they've convinced you to do is, instead of single events, is to get, they've monetized the streaming version of TED Talks. And the difference being, because they've done that, they are far more shrewd in who they're going to put into their stable, right? Anyone can do a TED Talk. Come on, kids. Get up here and do a TED Talk. TEDx. Hey, you farmers of West Virginia, you go ahead, have your alternative X event, right? And then, at the mothership, downtown New York City, welcome to the TED stage, right? Like, so you do have these layers. I love the benevolence of TED, but I also recognize the money-making pyramid scheme that Masterclass is, right? You imagine I would love to see someone do the podcast of grabbing a master. Here's the thing. This is content I would love. Do you remember, there's an author, and a few people have done this. So there's an author that wrote a book about the year of living religiously. It's the same author. I think they're a journalist that also did the Giving Thanks book, and it's about coffee. Now, funny enough, it's a TED Talk as well, but this individual talks about the gratitude they have for the cup of coffee they have in front of them, and they spent like a year giving thanks to 1,000 gratitude, 1,000 thanks, something like that, where they go to Costa Rica to meet the family where the beans were actually pulled. He goes to the factory, and the coffee cup maker, he spends a year doing this. Where the hell was I going with this? I think it was just, I'm circling this idea that now I lost it. Either way, they've commodified. Those are good books. They're interesting. Oh, damn, I lost my train of thought. Either way, yeah, Masterclass, I think, has figured out a way to get people to believe, oh, here's where I was going to go. So somebody to watch all 180 plus classes and then document the exact action, the forks in the road that it created in their life, and then present that. So here's me, trying to achieve master class. There we go. I just gave someone the name of the podcast. So you watch every single one, and from every single one, you spend some time actually working on those skills and talking about the challenges and the fire that you get from it. I know there's a podcast, at least a couple that do that, where they kind of do this. What's that called? Almost like a meta analysis. So they try all these suggestions from other podcasts and other books, other celebrities, and then they on the podcast talk about what's it like trying to do that. The Year of Living Religiously, I haven't read it. It's on my list. He basically tries to live according to the rules of different religions. So I think, Orthodox Judaism, Catholicism, Buddhism, and sort of like I think that's the premise of the book. So he gave me a lot there. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so you gave me a lot. I was like, yeah, I don't like the way you connect masterclass to TED because I'm done with TED Talks, generally speaking.
Do you
But
disagree? Do you disagree?
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. But dude, like I'm telling you right now, if you and I decide to do the family thing, I'm in. Like I'll give you my money. I'm in. I want to give it a go. At the very least, I want to hear Jocko's presentation of normal people. At the very least. So and yeah, I got a tingle too when you talked about the book club for men and how we might be able to incorporate this somehow. I'm stoked for the learning. I'm stoked for the experience. And you're right. I'm hoping it's more than TED because you were saying when you were reading the description, that there's resources and other things you can lean on with the speakers and with whatever their package is. So I'm hoping I see the connection. That's what I'm saying. I see the connection. I'm hoping it's not the same. I don't think it's going to be the same, but I see what you're saying. There's a recipe. I'm so done with TED Talks. I'm done. I can't stand them. I think some of them are 110 times too long. I think it should be brevity should be the key for TED Talks. Like you've got 7 minutes max. If it's 17, I told you I like to watch YouTube, right? If I happen to stumble on a TED Talk, they hook me with their title and then I see that it's like 18 minutes. I don't care what the title is. The title could be Get Rich Quick in 10 minutes, but it's 18 minutes. I'm not watching it. I'd rather be poor than spend my 18 minutes watching that TED Talk. So I'm stoked with Masterclass. They sucked me in. I'm here talking about it. They got me with Jocko. They lost me with Chris Hadfield. They got me with Jocko. So I'm excited to explore this with you because we do have to act quick because Labor Day is Monday. So you and I need to make a decision. Obviously, it's easier for me to make a decision if I'm paying $7 a month. Like that's a friggin' deal and a half. But we got to figure some things out first. Um, but I do like this. Imagine we ran with this masterclass thing. 365 days of masterclass or whatever. Like that'd be kinda cool. And the people you listed, so I gotta tell you, my wife can't stand Gary Vee. When he pops up on her Facebook feed or whatever, she's hitting block, she's hitting "Don't give me this stuff." She can't stand him, she believes him to be quite arrogant, and she can't handle his persona. Um, it's funny, there's something about him that doesn't annoy me, but I can see why he can be annoying. There's also something about him that so I'm not a businessman. But the guy has said so many nuggets that apply to the way I live my life every day. It's steeped in business, but I've been able to take so much and apply them to what I do in education. And the way he talks about he talks a lot about things that have to do with sociology and psychology that I'm like, I can't ignore that. Like what he's saying makes sense. The how I perceive how he treats people and the way he talks to people, it just seems real, and I guess I'm so done with fake that I prefer real and maybe like Goggins, Holiday, they strike me as they're real talk. It's real talk. It's not the edubabble that you and I get from a PD session about whatever, where in the first 2 minutes we're like, I'm not getting anything from this. I want to leave. I don't get that from those guys. And sometimes it is too much. Like even Holiday, his format is not aggressive, but sometimes it's just too much. I'm like, okay, I don't want to hear about another 18th century philosopher right now, right? Like it's too much, but he knows what he's doing. He's worked in marketing. He crafts his message in a way that brings people in. I get it. Even that's fun to watch. Even talking to you about how Masterclass has got my attention is so cool. It's so cool to be aware that I'm hook, line, and sinker with Jocko,
Mhm.
because that stuff's popped up in my feed for years, and I'm like, I'm not paying for this. Before it was subscription, I remember it being for this much you can listen to this person talk about this topic, and they started to lose me with people that a president. Okay, well, I'm not going to become president, and not. I know it's not for. It's just like make it more real for me. Even like I told you, I'm not going to be an actor, but listening to Hanks talk about his craft, I believe right away I can take something from that. But listening to a president talk about politics, or listening to an astronaut talk about going to space, I can get that for free on YouTube. I don't need that. And Jocko, I already know Jocko's shtick, but I'm craving. I want Jocko to talk to me like a normal person without paying him hundreds of dollars for a consultancy meeting. That's what I want. Jocko's company, it's called Echelon Front. Um, I think at the beginning of the summer, they did a free they did a free workshop on Zoom, and it was a good topic. Team building a team, collaborating with a team, something like this. And it wasn't Jocko who was presenting; it was two of his other guys. Which even then their stories are hilarious. Like one of them's a sniper, Navy SEAL sniper. It's like, what's a Navy SEAL sniper going to tell me, right? Like, but I watched it. It was like an hour, and it was awesome because they took they took the learnings from their world and bring it to normal folk and say the context is different, but the content is the same. And it's like, wow, that's so neat. But anyway, so I'm kind of excited to explore that a little bit further with you. I'm looking forward to that. Um, but the people, yeah, the people you named, it's like these people are 20, 25 years ago. We didn't have access like this.
Mhm.
There was the library where you could find the book, and it was word of mouth. You'd hear about somebody who did something or whatever. Now it's like with social media, it's crazy, right? Like it's crazy. Um, I was talking to both of my boys the other day. So my son, my youngest, was joking that when he was at hockey camp last week or the week before, and he was doing his workouts, he started to channel Goggins, the stereotypical "who's going to carry the boats," that he'd seen on social media. But he told me, "Dad, I was actually yelling it out loud because it put me in a different place. Like it got
That's
my."
kinda cool.
And I'm like, "That is," and he said all the kids were looking at me funny. I was like, "What are you guys looking at?" And they're like, "Why are you yelling? Who's going to carry the boat?" He's like, "It's Goggins." They're like, "We know, but why?" And he's like, "Well, if it works for him, it can work for me." And I said to both of my boys, if you guys want to go deep, talk to me. I'll give you the videos, and I've got the book. You can read the book about more than the memes, right? Like there is more to the man. Like I've watched interviews with him where he's not swearing and yelling every 5 seconds. He's actually having an honest conversation about his experiences and how they've led him to where he is today. And I'm like, some of his stories are pretty inspiring and they're crazy, but he's not yelling who's going to carry the boats and this and that. He's just talking in a
Mhm.
conversation. And I said, you'll probably get more from those than the meme. And it's the same with Jocko. Like my kids are like, oh, I'll be on the treadmill and they'll come downstairs and I'll be watching a Jocko's podcast. And they're like, what are you doing? And so I tell them, and they're like, well, what could you possibly learn from him? I'm like, are you kidding me? He's talking to this guy about this topic. I can learn so much. I just need to listen and be open. Um, so it's funny. Actually, before we move topics, you'll love this. So I've told you that I spend when I'm just milling around or whatever. um, I'll have a Twitter space on in my earbud or whatever. And so my son came to talk to me the other day about something. And he's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm on my laptop." He goes, "You're on your phone too?" I said, "Yeah, I'm in a Twitter space." He goes, "What kind of space?" And I said, "An NFT space." And he was intrigued. And he goes, "Dad, do you have NFTs?" I said, "I do have a couple." And he was like, "What?" And I'm like, "Well, hold on, before you think your dad's, I don't know, investing is." I'm like, I got them. I haven't paid for one NFT yet. I've gotten them, I've won them, or someone's given them to me or whatever. They're not worth anything. And he goes, "But you have NFTs?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I start showing him whatever. And he's like, I thought for sure he would give a crap, but he was totally intrigued. So anyway, it was just funny to see. It's funny to see my kids see me do stuff and be like, "Dad kind of knows some stuff." We know the memes of those things, but Dad's gone a little bit deeper. That it's not all a meme to him. He's got some depth to it.
Hmm.
Which is funny that they see their old man as taking the time to go deep, but I tell them all the time, I rather have depth than breadth, because when I focus, I want to go. I want to get that gold, because that's what's going to feed me for the future. Um, that's just my opinion on that. I'm going to let you jump in, and then I would love, if we have time, I would love to talk about an experience I had with my 17-year-old that was
Hmm.
friggin' fantastic.
Who's
So
here? Anybody here? Anybody
we
drop
have
in?
two people here, but they have not made any comments. So welcome to the two. It says
Yeah.
there are two viewers. Welcome. Drop
Yeah.
a
Welcome. Welcome.
comment in. Let us know who you are and where you're from.
Yeah.
Please, if you got questions or opinions on what we've been talking about, drop them in.
Yeah. I'd be curious. Anybody there, if they're, their thoughts on, what's their position on TED Talks? That idea of TED Talks as, personal growth tools. So I think that's where we're kind of at. I guess that's the best way to put the topic. So quick share on that extended experience about talking in NFTs. I think it was last week you and I were talking about that. And then I had shared with you that story about how it popped up at our dinner table. And we were walking through, what, the conversion rate on an ETH and what Bitcoin was at. And, had my phone out. We are talking about, they're trying to understand it from why would anybody want digital art? I'm like, well, it's less of a why, it's a what, if you are an art anyways, that was, anybody wants to check that content, listen to last week's episode. Karen came home and was sharing a story from work, and in the story the value of Bitcoin came up. Like, talk about random, but it was just a discussion around, the question was something like, really? And this person has X amount of Bitcoin. And Karen's like, yeah. And do you know like the how valuable they are? The person's like, yeah, like they said, like $30,000 Canadian per Bitcoin. And Karen doubles down and goes, actually, $35,000 Canadian, because just a couple days before, for a random reason, the way universe works, we were talking about it at the dinner table. So I wanted to share that. Um, so just to last information, I can't tell from masterclass whether or not it says you can share with it. The lingo in it is you can share with friends and family that live in the same house. So I don't know if that's friends as in anywhere, and also your family or your friends and family have to live in the same house. So whether or not it's attached, because it's like, even though it says 6 devices, yeah, I want to parse that out, because there's no point in us buying a family if it can't be shared to totally different households, right? So if we can figure that out,
There is a refund policy, right? There's
it's within
oh,
30 days. Yeah.
okay, so I think that's our fail safe. Like, I
Okay.
think, well, we're gonna know instantly if we get it, and then we create our generic account and we jump in. I'm here, you're there. If it doesn't work, hey,
I think another thing I would like to do, and it's not dependent on the decision moving forward, but it would be interesting to put it to our goals group and see whether or not they want to jump in and pay right away. Like, have them, And it looks like it would be a better idea for you or I to gift it out, if that makes sense, because that turns off the auto renewal. Because at the renewal rate, does that make sense?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Because so it's a single pay for the year, and then you have to sort of figure out what you're going to do at the end of the year.
I like that. I like that. And we're gonna keep talking about this,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
like the gifting
That's
thing.
cool.
I like that we can get our money back if it doesn't meet our needs, right?
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
if it's not going to meet my needs, I'm not interested. It's certainly if it's not going to work here and work where you are, then it's pointless because you and I are trying to do something with this. We're trying to learn together. So
It's yeah, and it is it's not theory as action. It's theory directly into action. Like that's my intent with this, like to kind of game up. Um, I wanted to I wanted to just kind of go back to rabbits for a second, bunnies, if you will.
before we
To,
go there, can I just say
of
Gary
course.
has said good morning.
Good morning, Gary.
Gary's here. Welcome, Gary.
Fantastic. I had mentioned, I think I dropped a polo your way. So this has been a rabbits kind of a week. It's a rabbits kind of a week. My interaction with you and some of your pretzel postings for set, the algorithm notices, and then I get rabbit videos. And it's funny how granular that can be. So I really like on Insta, there's a company called, I think, the Dodo, I think. And it's a lot of really cool, like sometimes it's animal rescues, a lot of really interesting dog and cat rescues. This company, I think if I were to give money to a company to keep doing the work that they do, I would probably use the Dodo, like if that's a thing, because it looks like the individuals that they showcase and the work that they do, it looks genuine to me. It looks genuine. That aside, I'm getting all these like recently, I'm getting all these videos of they're like compilations of rabbits binking, like this, this sort of like that jumping and running and kicking thing. It's also recently been rabbits attacking stuffed animals. And one of their skill sets, which is I did say stuffed animals, right? Stuffed attacking stuff that, yeah, okay. I realized that I say attacking animals, that's far more grim. But they like jump on, wrestle, and then they do this thing where they kind of flip on their back and they kick with their hind feet and they launch the stuffed animal like across the room, and then they run and they attack it again. I'm like, dang, these little prey animals have some ninja moves, right? Um, and some of them are pretty damn funny, like just behaviors of rabbits. It's like they're like little aliens in the pet world to me. Like I just don't understand them. I really don't understand it, and I kind of like that. So that's just my thanks to you. My feed is flooded. I've decided to have my feed flood with funny rabbit videos. Oh, and like the Norwegian giant lop-eared rabbit. Have you seen these things? They're like 50 pounds. Like they're massive.
I don't know the I've seen the different bunnies and I've seen bunnies, rabbits, and I've seen the
Yeah.
ones that are like as big as dogs. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
interesting.
I was like, that's a little frightening to me. Like at the same moment, I'm like, is there the same size squirrels somewhere? Like the idea of that thing being able to move as fast as some of these small things. And I know that doesn't scale up, but I just started to think of like that changes the algorithm for me about what a rabbit can do. Okay. So I had mentioned to you, and this is just going to be a little bit of like a thought experiment. Because I put this to you. Um, I put this to you in the polo. Um, this idea of getting caught or pursuing rabbit holes. And then, I mean, when we use this term when we're in a rabbit hole, we often don't address how you get out of the rabbit hole. We often, I think, when this concept of, I went down a rabbit hole, we all kind of get, I think you say that to someone like, oh, yeah, yeah, I totally did that, like on my phone, or I did that with reading a book or doing research. And I think it's going down the rabbit hole is in the same family of thinking as flow. There's an element of flow. Distraction falls away. You feel like you're in unison with whatever experience you're having, game you're playing, the emotions that go along with it. it feels like you've managed to sort of get on the perpetual energy machine, as in you don't need to do anything. You're just, and then also there's this idea of disappearing. And with disappearing, you disconnect from time and space and humans as well. Individuals can come in the room and they're like, yeah, I was talking to you and you didn't hear me. And you might not even have headphones on. You're just, it's absolute immersion, right? It's like it's like living virtually, but you're doing it actually. You've disappeared into this world. We don't often, I've never come across any sort of interesting conversations around that process of coming out of flow or coming out of the rabbit hole. Now, for me this week, rabbit holes is a little bit different than this flow. Yes, I got into flow. I got into the flow type of rabbit holes, but I also got into rabbit holes where I actually found the rabbit. Like I actually, and that stopped me. So now I'm kind of like, we don't, the thought experiment here is, have you ever had a moment when you're actually stuck in the rabbit hole? There isn't anything actually motivating you anymore, but you're still stuck there. So I reached the end of a couple rabbit holes, and these had to do actually with me pursuing information from my colleagues, sometimes about startup, just me starting up in a school. The more powerful ones was me trying to aggregate information about my roster of kids coming in. And I suddenly got in this sense of obviously flow. I'm like, okay, I'm clicking along. And then the rabbit hole, which is like, you feel things kind of accelerating and they become a little bit more disjointed. Like you're not sure which way to kind of, it's all these crossroads you're presented with. And then I actually find the rabbit hiding at the tail end of one of these tunnels. And just beyond the rabbit, it's darkness. So I don't know if I can keep going past the rabbit. I can't go past the idea. I can't, and I actually don't know how to back out. I have no clue how to come back out of it. Now, of course, metaphor. I get up, I grab a cup of coffee, I go to the bathroom. But the actual event doesn't have, with rabbit holes, it's like something pulls us out of it. I think often that's what happened. There's an incident, there's something that pulls us out of it. But in this case, I feel like I'm stuck in the tunnel still. I'm still stuck there because it's like I found answers, but they don't help me track or map how to move forward. So when you lose that momentum in the rabbit hole, you actually have very little way to find your way out again. And it's almost like, I feel like I just got to dig straight up, come out, and I'm hoping I'm digging straight up. I'll let gravity be my guide because that's my only sense, right? I can feel if I'm being weighted down and what it takes to lift up. But I had several moments like that this past week in connecting with the system, connecting with my colleagues, and talking with families. And I'm like, man, how long have these tunnels been dug without any real answer or clear direction? And I've been in those moments in some schools, in some staff, in some teams where there really is no one defining or helping to define what forward momentum looks like. We're just all chasing rabbits. So I cannot give more details than that, but the actual sentiment of mapping the rabbit hole as you're tracking where you're going. We have the luxury of version history and browsing history. And I did a couple exercises like this with my kids last year when I would have them do random research, and it's a tool I'm going to be using it again this year. And I would sort of bring to them, there's something going on in the school that week, or there's a topic in the news that I want them to kind of dig into. And I had rules for random research where I said you have to go beyond page 1 of your Google results. And there were criteria for them to sort of gather either images, sounds, any content, any media that helped them to understand something about the topic at a deeper level. And then what I would have them do afterwards, and it was usually in a different period, I said, what I would like you to do is I want you, the next time we do this random research, every time you chase another link, I want you to do it by opening a new browser tab. So don't keep doing it in the same browser tab. So if you do a search, I had them, like, sometimes you can just directly open in the next one. You can set your parameters to that. I said other times you might have to make it happen because I want to give you a visual queuing system of how far you've gone from where you started. And then you could very quickly see, okay, this one, this happened. And then I searched this word and then this word and then this word. For some of my students that had a hard time tracking what they noticed, what they sniffed out, and how they kind of followed their nose to the next thing. This past rabbit hole experience this past week, I didn't put any flags down or breadcrumbs to sort of track how to navigate back to where I started from. So I wouldn't say I wasted time, but I think I wasted experience because I didn't have a way to actually curate some of the why that I made one decision over another because stuff was happening, things happen quickly. Sometimes it's hard to sort of, you're just making decisions without having any deep thought behind it. So yeah, rabbit holes. That's what this past week was a little bit like. And not having clear archaeology tools to kind of categorize the stuff that I found and the decisions that I made. Yeah.
So this is really cool because you bringing that up and talking about it a little bit uh, in our back and forth this week, and then flushing it out now. Man, the connections I'm making are incredible. I feel like the way you explain it and talk about it, man, it's like I literally go down the rabbit holes and then I have to come back up to report to see the sun and to talk to the people that refuse to go down there. So I feel like I'm constantly running in and out, and it's like I go under, and when I'm under, I'm navigating all the paths, and I'm checking in with people who are like so deep they're not sure how to come back up, and I tell them I know the way, but they're like no, they're like scared to come up and see the sun because they haven't seen it in so long. And then I scurry back up and I say to people up there, hey, I found so and so. They're not
Yeah.
coming out though.
Yeah, they're good.
They're okay, like they're there. They're
They've
talking to
set
me.
up camp. They've
I know where their burrow is. Like I can go find them again.
Mhm.
And sometimes I go back and they're gone. Right? They've moved. They're still digging and whatever. And I make so many connections. Like it reminds me of so many things. One of which is this idea that on most work days I'm wearing running shoes. And I'm not wearing running shoes to be comfortable. I'm wearing running shoes because of the amount of walking I'm doing.
Because you run. It's
Well,
pure function.
it's I need something for my feet to do what my body's doing, right? Like, what are you doing today, Roland? I'm gonna walk this kid to school and then walk them home. Don't ask why. But like, but in that walking, I'm not gonna do it in dress shoes. So, like, it's funny because you talked about the tools. I'm like, we've talked about this. I've got I pop my trunk and I have the shoes and I have the heavier coat and I have the umbrella and I have my food
Oh
and I
yeah,
have
the
like
portable office. Basically,
right,
like yeah, yeah, yeah. I
but
gotcha.
those are my tools.
Yeah.
Just like you're saying you need tools to do work down there. So it's fascinating to me how you've spoken about it. And then when I think about what you're saying and what you're doing, I'm like, yeah, man, I spend a lot of time down there. Um I spend a lot of time down there, but I always seem to come back up at the end of the day.
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, yeah, because I don't live down there. And it's funny, going down there for work is different than me going down there with other things I do with my life,
Hmm.
right? Like AI. Oh my God, when I start digging and I'm down there, I'm like, oh, for goodness sake, I've created 50 tunnels. I've been down here for an hour and a half. I gotta get out of here. Like, but it's addictive, and I'm learning, but I'm everywhere but nowhere at the same time. So
Yeah. Omnipresent.
yeah. So when
Omnipresent.
you talk about that, I think for leisure, I'm there. It's unfortunate. Well, maybe it's not unfortunate. You're down there right now for work.
Yeah.
And I'm down there for work too, but I think I found a way to get in and out fast. And I guess digging straight up, I guess maybe I have the right tools to just do that instantly, to pop out and communicate to the outside world before going back down. I don't know. It's an interesting perspective for sure. And I'm hoping as time goes for you, you'll know, you'll just have a better roadmap, and you'll have the tools, and you'll have um, parameters around it. You will
Mhm.
build your flow, I guess, to be down there as often as you need to be, or whatever the case is. Interesting though that it also connects to my rabbit, my little rabbit. My little rabbit doesn't do a lot of the things that we see on Instagram. He doesn't
Mhm.
he doesn't do those things. He binkies in the it's funny, in the morning when I come to his cage to get him, he'll do this really fast running thing that he does around a certain part of his cage. And I treat him like a dog. Like I bend over the cage and I'll kind of speed, like kind of rough with him. Hey, buddy. And I'm like, oh, he's not a dog. You know what I mean? But
I do that to my cat too, and
okay.
sometimes you can see the stages of, is this just a new scratch, to I don't think I really like it, to I'm about to show you how much I don't like it. And I can see my cat move through those same stages because it's the same thing. Like I'll kind of roughhouse with him a little bit, and sometimes he's okay. He's like, "Oh yeah, right there," and then he's like, "Ah, stop." And yeah, I get that. I get that. So next weekend we start season 7.
Holy cow, bro.
It was right around this time, I guess 6 years ago, that we said, hey, let's try doing a live podcast every Saturday morning. I think it's good to kind of just, pause for the cause, eh? Like 6 seasons of just meeting up Saturdays for a regular basis to talk about dadhood and dudehood and education. So this is cool.
I can't believe that we've done 6 full years.
Hmm.
6 full years of chatting on mostly Saturday mornings. I know we've
Hmm.
had some Friday nights, some Sundays, but wow.
200, as it shows right now, 265 episodes. That equates to probably 400 hours ish, because I mean most of our epis are at least an hour. We hit the hour mark. I think there's more that are over than under.
I
So
agree.
yep, probably close to 400 hours of reflective practice. So that's
All k
cool.
all kinds of
I
topics.
Yeah. Yeah, covered, and still emerging topics. 6 years ago, we weren't doing AI. You can see, I can remember layers that we moved through. I mean, one of the more consistent threads through our talk has been um using digital tools in general. We've kind of covered that. Equity, whole lot of equity. um I think in the latter half, so in the last 3 years, we've been talking more about kind of health and wellness. We're kind of getting some of that stuff in. Leadership stories, system stories, advocacy, food. Food pops up.
Mm,
Pop culture pops up, definitely. Art and the art of creativity and the work of creativity. Um,
family.
Family. Yep, for sure. And, recently kind of swinging a little bit into AI. We've, this and tail end of summer school, I think kind of came in more, a little bit more NFT talk, kind of just making a very common discussion. Mental health,
Mental
mental
health,
health,
yeah.
always our families, our
Our
dads.
dads, yeah.
Yeah, we went through a whole season, I think, where our dads just kept on popping up in conversations and sharing the dad's story. Legacy, these videos as artifacts and Easter eggs for our own children. Modeling friendship, modeling appropriate use of technology. It's been a lot. It's been a lot. There's a lot to put on that t-shirt. Yeah, Gary, hey, yeah, love the varied conversation. So do I, because we arrive on Saturdays with a sense of what could be talked about, but sometimes we don't hit that either. There's something that one of us are just kind of lit up by that we got to get to.
I love so I'm in the YouTube channel. Season 1, episode 2 was September the 10th, 2017.
Hmm.
And I remember season 1, episode 1, for
With
some
sketch,
reason.
we
Yeah,
yeah, it's for somehow we lost the. If someone finds it, that's worth gold, right? That's the
so
collector's item. If someone can find that one online, yeah. I remember
so
that was the figuring out of this tech. Like, how's this going to work exactly?
right, so September 10th, so then subtract like 6 days, and that's
Hmm.
when we did episode 1, season 1. It's hilarious to see the thumbnails of like your basement setup,
Hmm.
this room that I'm in and what it looked like at the time.
Hmm.
Just so many different things. And I gotta say, we did it our way. We continue to do it our way. We don't care, and I don't mean to sound. I don't want to. It may sound rude to people. We don't care if people watch or not. We don't care. Like, it's great to have you here today, Gary. But if you're not here next week, Gary, I'm not going to go cry in that corner. We're going to talk. We're going to do what we do. We're going to move on. And we've even had like, there were seasons where we had certain people join us often, like Ramona, who's now a vice principal. There was a season or two where she was here often, right? Cool. It fit well with what she was doing, and I guess what we were talking about, she could stand listening to, right?
Hmm.
Carlos was part of the weaving of our talks. Uh,
Hmm.
Carlos last year, the year before, I was at his school talking to his principal, and his principal says to me, "Hey, I saw your podcast this morning." And I was like, "What? Why would you be Well, why would you be connected to my podcast?" He goes, "I went to Carlos's room to talk to him, and he had you and your friend up on the bright links, the screen, and as he was preparing for the day, he had you guys on your YouTube channel playing. So I walk in and you're talking about whatever topic, and
Hmm.
Carlos is listening and watching your podcast as he's preparing for the day. Like, it's cool to hear these things, and it's nice to see that we've had some people come in and out over time, but we've always done it our way.
Hmm.
And you and I have both seen people podcast and not do it their way.
Well, and we know that, and you can sort of say like, how do you know that? How do you know they didn't do it their way? And part of it is just so 6 years here, but you and I, collectively had like just under a decade of between the two of us, a decade of experience podcasting individually prior to this. So we're we've seen the path coming through. Like, we've seen how others have started and now stopped, started something new, started stopped. Like, so it's just the we've seen other people kind of come and go in their own products, right? So the decision to do it our own way, we can define that quite clearly. Our way right now was a decision not to monetize it. The decision was to do it together. The decision was to do it live. The decision was to not pursue something like voice ed to sort of accredit what we're doing. The decision was to take a break if we had to. The decision was to make sure we're uh, synergizing this idea of dadhood, education, and being a husband, like just making sure that we come to it as whole people. We decided not to have guests. We decided that we would sort of explore alternate technologies if we wanted. Like, if there was a kind of a cool different way for us to get to it, we would try to do that. So all of this is our way. And as you mentioned, thanks for being here, Gary. My hope is that I love the fact that we have people drop in, but there is also something in me that thinks like I hope people consider trying to sort of boost their reflective practice methods and share out like we are, like to kind of go there. Like I think part of it. Oh, and we didn't want to pay a lot of money. We like because there's a lot more. I will say finessed and monetized way for you and I to do what we're doing right here. But I think we fit the sweet spot as far as what it kind of costs us to do it. And um, does the money start to become the issue, not the actual good conversation? So I think we're in the sweet spot there. And at any point, I always forget the name of this platform. StreamYard could change their actual way that they use it. That was also part of what happened when I feel like we had some issues there in the beginning that we pivoted because did something change in the beginning and we thought that we couldn't use StreamYard? Or I feel like there was some bump in the beginning. We're like, okay, crap. How do we do this? Oh, because we were trying to figure out in the beginning, are we going to have to use Discord along with, we had this moment where how are we going to sort of do the video and have the audio? Maybe it was before we decided to go YouTube, but there was some bump in the road there anyways. So that kind of agility to say, you know what, now that we've established a pattern of behavior where we know we can hang Saturday mornings, we'll find the tools that let us continue. This is a very convenient mix of tools. And if, I would probably say I'd be tempted that if StreamYard said, in order for Decoded to continue, sorry, boys, you're going to have to pay like the entry fee basic product to keep what you're doing, I would probably be tempted to say, okay, let's look at that in order to keep the tool, because it is a useful tool. I would probably look to see if there was anything else comparable, but if they came back saying, we're no longer offering the basic package, which happens, it happens. So yeah, so there's a whole that is the doing it kind of our way that we just kind of figured out along the way. That was the rabbit hole.
I like that rabbit hole. Gary said purpose versus popularity, and I would say that fits you and I to a T. We knew what we wanted to do and why we wanted to do it, and it didn't matter, and it still doesn't matter whether it's popular. It just doesn't work for me. I don't care about this not being popular because it has fed me in so many different and beneficial ways for my life. Like, can't put a price tag on what I've gotten out of this. I just can't.
No. I think can we put it to a vote right now? I think let's make it official. Gary is now in charge of our new clothing division. Okay. Where Are My Pants is the name of our clothing division.
Where are my pants?
Where Are My Pants? Yeah. And I think he can start to roll out anytime soon the PvP decoded stickers, hats, t-shirts would be good. Maybe a toque. Yeah, Wear My Pants division of Decoded Industries, and PvP, that sort of purpose versus popularity. I like that.
Okay, cool.
Gary, wait, we put it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
So passed. So Gary, you are now officially our clothing producer and marketer, coming up with great slogans. Like that's a great slogan. I've never seen. I mean, part of it is the words make sense, but I've never seen them together like that. So it works. I think it works for our brand, doesn't it? Yeah. Purpose versus popularity.
It does. It is what we are, PvP.
Yeah.
Rochelle, who I think it says we only have one viewer. Rochelle says, have a great first day back next week. Rochelle, thanks for checking us out.
Hey, Rochelle, how you doing? Again, a name. It was funny as we were kind of going through like Heidi alum. I know Rochelle had checked in. I knew there were other people. I remember there was a couple episodes where we were talking about donuts, and we've talked about family, and Rochelle was one of those individuals that kind of popped in. There was also someone from the States that I talked to a little bit. I just forget their name. I think they were from the States. The names escape me. Maybe I have to start a list. You know what? But we're here every Saturday, so someone could, if they're still following the feeds, they could drop in just like this. It's like they're just walking by the window like, hey, how's it going?
Yeah, they could. I mean, and really cool thing, we had Amber Mack jump in one day when I tagged her on Twitter. I know she's only checked us out once, but it was still it's kind of cool to be able to tag someone somewhere else and then they come over and check it out. It's like,
Mhm.
what are these two guys talking about? I love it when people say, "What's your podcast about?" I'm
Some of the
like,
Stoic peeps,
Coach
oh,
Turby,
Coach Turby dropped in.
Cosmic
And then
Adonis.
to say some of the crypto
Yeah,
NFT crews kind of like dropping in and saying hello.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's cool. I mean, it's cool. But at the end of the day, whether they come back or not, you and I still show up on Saturday mornings. We do our thing. It works for us. We have all kinds of really cool conversations, in my opinion. Some are better than others. It's just, and people have said listening to you and I talk is weird because it's like we're not live on YouTube for anybody to check out. It's just two buddies talking about different topics. It's an intimacy that I think makes some people uncomfortable, and
yeah.
that's okay. But I think it's also clear that if you're here, like Gary or Rochelle or Ramona, uh, if you're here and you drop a comment, we don't ignore it. We
Nope.
bring it right into our conversation. So that's our way, I guess, of having
That was
guests, if you will.
You remember that was like what, maybe season 4 when they added that possibility into this. Remember that was you're like, hey, check this out. And I'm like, oh, and we're able to take the comments and flip them into the actual video feed. That was cool because that's a freebie. That's like that feels like a really good freebie, like a great freebie to be able to do that, right? To be able to sort of duck those into the conversation. That's awesome. That is awesome. So good stuff. Here, let me show you this. I got to bust out soon, so this is where I went.
Oh, it's a person that's going to get launched out of a cannon. What do they have a coffee, but what's drawn on the coffee cup?
Oh,
It's something green, but I can't tell what it is.
the battery, the sort
Oh,
of
it's a
full battery, as we go into as we go into September, as we go into September.
I like that the coffee's already spilling.
Oh, we got action going. That's a full mug. That's a full mug going into the first day of school.
Epic. Okay. Is that it? We're done for today?
I'm
Good
good. You
stuff.
good?
Okay, I'm good. I'm good. Thanks to Rochelle and Gary for dropping in and to anybody else who checked us out. This
Absolutely.
was Decoded Podcast, Season 6, Episode 47, number 265, the last summer school episode for Season 6.
Hmm.
Um, the next time we cast, it'll be the start of Season 7.
It
That's it.
will.
Peace.
Good stuff. Peace, man. Take care.
You too.